Hello, my lovely seniors woo, and juniors that are following along. I checked my alarm clock to make sure nothing's going to go off to interrupt us today. I hope. One of these days, I'm going to get this Opie and all my beautiful squirrels. Cards, everything. Love you all. And this beautiful thing, bookmark, comes in handy. Okay, let's see where we were. Oh, about the alarm. One day I'm going to learn to edit. Edit. I've got to if I'm going to do tutorials. I figured out how to do them now, which totally I should have known, but we'll figure out something. Let's see. They were talking about their castles, and basically it sounds like they're heaven. And Joe said she will write books and get rich and famous. That would suit me, so that is my favorite dream. Okay, so there's dream. Mine is to, I am going over some that I've read before. That's okay. Mine is to stay at home with father and mother and help take care of the family, said Beth contentedly. Don't you wish for something else? Asked Laurie. Since I had my little piano, I'm perfectly satisfied. I only wish we may all keep well and be together, nothing else. I have lots of wishes, but the pet one is to be an artist and go to Rome and do fine pictures and be the best artist in the whole world, said Amy's modest desire. Was Amy's modest desire. We're an ambitious set, aren't we? Every one of us but Beth wants to be rich and famous and gorgeous in every respect. I do wonder if any of us will ever get our wishes, said Laurie, chewing grass like a meditative calf. I've got the key to my castle in the air, but whether I can unlock the door remains to be seen, observed Joe mysteriously. I've got the key to mine, but I'm not allowed to try it. Hang college, muttered Laurie with an impatient sigh. Here's mine, said Amy, and Amy waved her pencil. I haven't got any, said Meg forlornly. Yes, you have, said Laurie at once. Where? In your face. Nonsense, that's of no use. What? Wait and see if it doesn't bring you something worth having, replied the boy, laughing at the thought of a charming little secret which he fancied he knew. Meg colored behind the brake but asked no questions and looked across the river with the same expectant expression which Mr. Brooke had worn when he told the story of the night. If we are all alive 10 years hence, let's meet and see how many of us have got our wishes, or how much nearer we are them than now, said Joe, always ready with a plan. Bless me, how old shall I be? 27, exclaimed Meg, who felt grown up already, having just reached 17. You and I shall be 26, Teddy. Beth 24, Amy 22. What a venerable party, said Joe. I hope I shall have done something to be proud of by that time, but I'm such a lazy dog, I'm afraid I shall dawdle, Joe. You need a motive, Mother says, and when you get it, she is sure you'll work splendidly. Is she? By Jupiter, I will, if I only get the chance, cried Laurie, sitting up with sudden energy. I ought to be satisfied to please Grandfather, and I do try, but it's working against the grain, you see, and comes hard. He wants me to be an India merchant, as he was, and I'd rather be shot. I hate tea and silk and spices and every sort of rubbish his old ships bring, and I don't care how soon they go to the bottom when I own them. Going to college ought to satisfy him, for if I give him 4 years, he ought to let me off from the business. But he's set, and I've got to do just as he did, unless I break away and please myself as my father did. If there was anyone left to stay with the old gentleman, I'd do it tomorrow. Laurie spoke excitedly and looked ready to carry his threat into execution on the slightest provocation, for he was growing up very fast, and in spite of his indolent ways, had a young man's hatred of subjection, a young man's restless longings to try the world for himself. I advise you to sail away in one of your ships and never come home again till you have tried your own way, said Joe, whose imagination was fired by the thought of such a daring exploit, and whose sympathy was excited by what she called Teddy's wrongs. That's not right, Joe. You mustn't talk in that way. And Laurie mustn't take your bad advice. You should do just what your grandfather wishes, my dear boy, said Meg in her most maternal tone. Do your best at college, and when he sees that you try to please him, I'm sure he won't be hard or unjust to you. As you say, there's no one else to stay with him and love him, and you'd never forgive yourself if you left him without his permission. Don't be dismal or fret, but do your duty, and you'll get your reward, as good Mr. Brooke has, by being respected and loved. What do you know about him? Asked Laurie, grateful for the good advice but objecting to the lecture, and glad to turn the conversation from himself after his unusual outbreak. Only what your grandpa told mother about him, how he took good care of his own mother till she died and wouldn't go abroad as tutor to some nice person because he wouldn't leave her, and how he provides now for an old woman who nursed his mother and never tells anyone, but is just as generous and patient and good as he can be. So he is, dear old fellow, said Laurie heartily, as Meg paused, looking flushed and earnest with her story. It's like Grandpa to find out all about him without letting him know, and to tell all his goodness to others so they might like him. Brooke couldn't understand why your mother was so kind to him, asking him over with me and treating him in her beautiful, friendly way. He thought she was just perfect and talked about it for days and days, and went on about you all in flaming style. If ever I get my wish, you see what I'll do for Brooke. Begin to do something now by not plaguing his life out, said Meg sharply. How do you know I do, miss? I can always tell by his face when he goes away. If you have been good, he looks satisfied and walks briskly. If you have plagued him, he's sober and walks slowly as if he wanted to go back and do his work better. Well, I like that. So you keep an account of my good and bad marks in Brooke's face, do you? I see him bow and smile as he passes your window, but I didn't know you'd got up a telegraph. We haven't. Don't be angry, and oh, don't tell him I said anything. It was only to show that I cared how you get on, and what is said here is said in confidence, you know, cried Meg, much alarmed in the thought of what might follow from her careless speech. I don't tell tales, replied Laurie with his high and mighty air, as Joe caught a certain expression which he occasionally wore. Only if Brooke is going to be a thermometer, I must mind and have fair weather for him to report. Please don't be offended. I didn't mean to preach or tell tales or be silly. I only thought Joe was encouraging you in a feeling which you'd be sorry for by and by. You are so kind to us. We feel as if you were our brother and say just what we think. Forgive me, I meant it kindly. And Meg offered her hand with a gesture both affectionate and timid. Ashamed of his momentary pique, Laurie squeezed the kind little hand and said frankly, I'm the one to be forgiven. I'm cross and have been out of sorts all day. I like to have you tell me my faults and be sisterly. So don't mind if I'm grumpy sometimes. I thank you all the same. Bent on showing that he was not offended, he made himself agreeable as possible, wound cotton for Meg, recited poetry to please Joe, shook down cones for Beth, and helped Amy with her ferns, proving himself a fit person to belong to the Busy Bee Society. In the midst of an animated discussion on the domestic habits of turtles, one of which amiable creatures having strolled up from the river, the faint sound of a bell warned them that Hannah had put the tea to draw, and they would just have time to get home to supper. "May I come again?" asked Laurie. "Yes, if you're good and love your book, as the boys in the primer are told to do," said Meg, smiling. "I'll try." "Then you may come, and I'll teach you to knit, as the Scotchmen do. There's a demand for socks just now," added Joe, waving hers like a big blue worsted banner as they parted at the gate. That night, when Beth played to Mr. Lawrence in the twilight, Laurie, standing in the shadow of the curtain, listened to the little David, whose simple music always quieted his moody spirit, and watched the old man who sat with his gray head on his hand, thinking tender thoughts of the dead child he had loved so much. Remembering the conversation of the afternoon, the boy said to himself, with the resolve to make the sacrifice cheerfully, "I'll let my castle go and stay with the dear old gentleman while he needs me, for I am all he has." And that is the end of 13. And 14. See how long it is. I'm going to stop here because 14 is not very long, and I would like, again, to, the next couple of chapters look doable in one sitting or one reading, because I still have to get to the junior book. That's coming up next. And also have to get back to my square that I haven't gotten any further along with because I kept falling asleep, and I've had so much to do today. Adulting, paying bills, and all that fun stuff. And I hope you all saw my video about helping Madonna get to 1K, and I would also like to add to that Cindy Hart's Crochet. She's only needs about 27 more to get there. We're going to have to work on Madonna for a little bit because she's at 701. So I know that might take a little while. If we could get some of you folks, or all of you folks that have channels to make a video. We all know different folks. So if you could do that, that would be fabulous. And I'm sure she would appreciate it. For Cindy too, if we have enough folks at live, we should be able to get her. If we have enough different folks that have not subbed to her already, if you can do it ahead of time, that would be great. Cindy, C-I-N-D-Y, Hearts, spelled out, crochet. And a reminder that she has the raffle going on, and I did buy my raffle ticket today. And she does it with PayPal, so it's real easy to do. If you don't have PayPal, I'm sure she'll work with you on something there. Just get with her, and also subscribe. And I'm sorry if I say the S-U-B word. I totally don't mean anything bad by it. I mean, subscribe. Okay, we will, if you don't see me in the junior reading, which is coming up next, then live at 5, which won't be long from now. It is almost 3 o'clock. About 2:53 or so. Okie dokie. See you the next time. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Mwah. Bye-bye.